Hello, everybody. Tomás Mulcahy is my name. I'm Head of Enterprise Development with Submit.com. Submit.com is a Cork-based company, a digitized submission management platform. And it's great that I'm joined this morning for conversations with Submit.com by Ian O'Sullivan, who is from Cork City Council, one of our own in the city, not too far away from the offices of Submit.com. And Ian looks after ICT projects and web applications for Cork City Council. So you're welcome, Ian. Can you just give me a small background to your role in Cork City Council?
Good morning, Tomás. Ian is my name. Just a quick bit of background about myself. I've been with Cork City Council for about 13, nearly 14 years now. I work in ICT projects at the moment, but I actually have a fairly varied background. I worked in Cork City Libraries for nearly 10 years. I also worked in finance and I worked in tourism. And in between, I did some IT work as well. I know I'm in ICT projects for the last couple of years, working basically on, like Tomás mentioned, kind of web projects and online applications, that kind of thing.
Excellent, excellent. So if I said to you, pre-pandemic, Ian, tell us where kind of Cork City we're at in terms of people coming into your offices. Then that's all stopped. Applications, paper-based. I mean, it was changing times for everybody. A lot of people working remotely, and I'm sure Cork City Council or any council around the country was no different.
Yeah, it was a different landscape completely, Tomás. I mean, pre-pandemic, I mean, we had already began, I suppose, a kind of a digitization process around submissions on a kind of a small level. But when the pandemic hit, we had to go from first into fifth gear, really, I suppose. And being a public body, the onus was on us to be leaders in this as well and to facilitate remote working. And then we had to find ways that staff could collaborate. And also we had to basically close public offices that we would have queues at all day long, you know. So it was one of the most challenging times we've had as a council in recent years, you know. It was a real emergency reaction situation for us. So, I mean, to give you a quick stat to kind of let you know where we are, I mean, in 2019, we took in about 1,000 online applications. And in 2020, we took in, I think it was 22,000. So you can look at that as a percentage increase now and do the maths yourself if you like. So,
well, from Submit.com, that's good to hear. That's nice progress in terms of how you're using and the benefit of Submit for Cork City Council. And like, I suppose when you go back to that, it was initially maybe one department, might have been a trial period with one department to take on board this, and suddenly it grew. And it's just not maybe just about arts that some people maybe just are grants. There's a wide range of categories that are now using it in different departments within Cork City Council.
There is, Tomás. It's like people, I suppose, think about it as an online application platform, and that's the impression you might, I suppose, that's the impression you get from something like Submit.com. But really, what you're talking about is it's a digitization of work processes, which is something we would look at more than just online applications. And I suppose that's been the strength of Submit.com for us, in that we were able to digitize whole processes and bring them into a whole new online environment and allow for collaboration of staff and also for interaction with customers, which is something we wouldn't have done before. So it grew quite quickly for us, in that we had a pilot project which was based around our parking permit applications. And then as we, I suppose, got used to using the platform ourselves and learned the features, etc., we expanded out in the organization. So it kind of grew and evolved over time, over the last year and a half.
Excellent, yeah. And look, you mentioned maybe the straightforward kind of process of the parking permits and maybe the grants and service request forms. There was an area that you took on board as well in lifelong learning. Can you kind of just take us through a little process of that and what that meant for you and what it actually entails?
Yeah, I suppose this would have been an example of us doing things the wrong way around in a way, and that we started with parking permits, which was kind of, it was a little bit of square peg in a round hole thing going on, because we had to work with Submit to get this one working for us, because it wasn't a standard application, you know. It was quite complex. It involved payments. It involved a fair bit of uploading of different materials, and from the get-go, we needed a lot of interaction with customers. So it was kind of different in that it wasn't really an application per se. Recently, we did the whole Cork Lifelong Learning Awards online through Submit.com, and that would have been, I suppose the first time we used Submit.com to the full extent, I would imagine, and this just finished now a couple of weeks ago. So we took in all the applications and the nominations through the platform itself. So we would have got a few hundred of those in, a lot of attachments, a lot of video links, a lot of, I suppose, using all the, the features that Submit.com would offer as regards the content which you can apply to a submission. We also then had to look at a way to allow people to collaborate with these nominations, because we had a panel of judges. Heretofore, these people might have met up in a room, or they might have been emailing stuff around, or kind of a shared drive and stuff like this, quite messy. But with Submit.com, we were able to facilitate these applications coming in, slotting them into different folders, different categories. And then we had 23 external judges. So we would have set them up on the system as external reviewers, which is one of the useful functions of the platform, with a very limited access, which is important for us, I suppose, from a data protection and a security point of view. And then these judges would have had access to their particular folders for which they were the allocated judges, and they were able to sign in, see the material in the folders. We had, I think, 5 score bars per application, so they were able to score each application based on their own assessment, and also add comments to the scores as well. And what we liked about this is that it calculated all their scores automatically, and only the team leaders or the team members, which would be the staff internally here, would be able to see the overall picture, and the judges would just see their own material. So I mean, that was very useful, and that worked pretty seamlessly. I expected a lot of trouble with this one, with so many people involved, but with a few Teams meetings to explain to people, etc., and once we got them all logged in, it worked very well for us.
And just to follow on that, then I suppose, Ian, like prior to that, if you were doing something that would have been very much paper based in terms of application process, like your judges sending applications out back and forth to them to review and stuff like that, and like the paper trail that has been there has been reduced significantly, I believe, in Cork City Council. You've gone from big numbers down to small percentages. Can you?
Well, in the applications we're using, I'd be confident enough to say that they're pretty paperless. Now we do have a few which might be half and half, but I mean, with the high volume stuff we have, like parking, that went, I think it went to 80% in the first couple of months, digital, 20% paper, and at one stage, the last time I heard, it was down to 5 or 6%. We're just coming in the post or in paper. Now I know the pandemic fueled a lot of that, but even with restrictions easing, etc., that hasn't really subsided. The buy-in from the public there has been very good. But you can see why. I mean, if you live in an extended Cork City, which is what we have now, and you're living in Ballincollig or Douglas, and you need to apply for your parking permit, you don't want to come to City Hall. You don't want to find somewhere to park, especially when you have no permit yet. But but you can do it from the comfort of your own home, and you can interact with the staff, and they get the application immediately in their process quicker. And again, there's no paper, nothing comes in the post. And we've seen that in our, I suppose, road licensing as well, which is another department we moved into, which was quite complex because it involved contractors. It was B2B. So we had contractors who would be doing stuff like putting cranes and hoists in the street, or hoarding and scaffolding and all this kind of stuff. And again, it's quite involved because you're talking about very specific details to do with insurance documentation. They might take a lot of photographs of the site before and after. Obviously, for insurance requirements, we needed authenticated signatures, all this kind of stuff, which we have and Submit, and it all comes into the one place. So before, that would have been literally a stack of paper, and in a lot of these cases, you had a few offices where there might have been trays with all this kind of stuff going in and out. Whereas now, the beauty of it now is that we have an online platform where the staff collaborate in the one place, and even with remote working, which would have been a huge problem for us over the last year, because of the fact that they could access this remotely. They didn't have to be in the office. That made all that a lot easier and a lot easier to manage. So, I mean, I suppose, to be honest, it did get us out of a big hole there as well with them.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And just, we'd say, from an internal perspective, your own staff, it's your team inside ICT kind of oversee all this. All the departments have to come to you, which I think is very, very important to stress that as well, that you are in control and your team are in control of this with all the different departments and whoever needs to sign on or get access to forms and all that. You are the controller of this, which I think is important for people to hear as well.
It would be, and I think I think it's the best way to approach it, because there's a lot of concerns people may have around online submissions to do with data protection, security, etc., how to manage user permissions, all this kind of thing. And I think it worked well for us in that it was led by IT, and that's what we do on a day-to-day basis. We obviously have concerns with, privacy, security, data protection, hosting, all
Yeah.
these different things with every application we use, and we're able to manage that centrally. And the departments themselves who wouldn't have the experience in that, they don't have to worry about that part of it. We deal directly with Submit, and we deal with any issues that might arise to do with how to allocate permissions, that kind of thing. And we'd have the application experience to kind of get that rolled out quick across the organization as well. And we don't have a communication flow problem, because then we deal with the different departments directly, and they come to us, and we allocate permissions then on a graduated basis as they're needed. It's just from our own experience, I just think it's the best way to do it, rather than departments, I suppose, kind of working independently and trying to use Submit themselves, etc.
Okay, that's good. That's good to hear. And just on that as well. I mean, obviously, from your side, Submit, listening to Cork City Council in terms of what you would love to have added to the platform, or we change to the platform. You mentioned about payment kind of formats there and payment reporting. We'd say SSO, single sign-ons, the MFA, the multi-factor authentication as well, and stuff like that. That was kind of coming for yourselves. So we in Submit had to adopt and maybe take on board that was one of the key portals that you needed as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, since we started with Submit, we have a constant conversation going on with the guys inside, especially in the technical end of things. And the single sign-on would have been a big thing for us and for any public body, because of the fact cybersecurity now is more important than it ever has been, and it's only going to become more important. And the fact that our staff can sign in automatically when they're on the network, and then they're asked for a double layer of authentication if they're outside the network, for us would have been extremely important. I've been trying to get that with any application, whether it's third party or internal. So I mean, that's just for us was so that was a big help for us. And also because of the fact that some of the forms we do use would have a lot of sensitive data involved. So that's again peace of mind for us internally as well. I mean, where it'll go in the future, I think Submit is always evolving, and we always have a conversation going on about futures that we would like to have, and a bit of a shopping list on the go the whole time. And we've talked to the guys inside about I suppose reporting via API and this kind of stuff, and feeding data from Submit into other third-party applications. Maybe building an interface that would work with Submit, that kind of stuff. So that would be kind of future roadmap kind of stuff for us, to kind of, I suppose, further integrate Submit into other, I suppose higher picture data infrastructure systems that we would manage.
Very good, very good. And you just kind of, I suppose, like you kind of mentioned the internal process now that you're running, and we take from the outside looking in, your citizens, how they adapted to the change in terms of wake up, being able to maybe access to the app on their mobile phone to pay bills through their mobile phone or their PC at home. Has the reaction been very, very positive?
Well, I suppose being in the job I'm in, Tomás, I judge everything in numbers and stats. So look, I mean, to give you an example of how important that has become to us, at this stage in the game, we have over 14,000 registered users on Submit. That's public users, and they're growing by the hundreds every month. So I mean, you don't even need to ask, but we do ask, and we do ask for the teams and the different businesses inside there to ask for feedback, and we've ran tests with contractors and this kind of thing. I mean, we have contractors who use it solely on the mobile. One example would be a commercial work vehicle permit, which has to be done instantly. So what they do is they park in the street and they're just applying on the mobile, and they want an immediate confirmation. There's no waiting time involved. So the feedback from that was very good. Before they would have to park the vehicle, queue in City Hall at the desk, get the permit, and go back. Whereas now we kind of have a process worked with a submission and submit, where that's done basically on the spot.
If you were to give maybe or look for Submit to do something different, is there anything that from your side in Cork City Council that you'd like to have it enhanced with, or to change, or?
I suppose at this stage, Tomás, because it's grown so much with us now, in that we would have, I mean, if you take every phase that we use as a separate submission, which is the way we count them, so we have over 100 of them on the go now.
We've seen that, yeah.
Many varied departments. We have, like, we started with parking, roads, licensing. We went into corporate affairs with the freedom of information forms, environment, customer service requests, and then we moved into like the arts grants, the sports grants, the community grants, which are all digitized now. Um, it's gone to the stage now where I suppose what we would look from Submit, and we did mention this is kind of a way for us to kind of segment that, I suppose, on the back end a bit more intuitively for us, and that we could maybe log in and look straight at community forums or look straight at arts forums, and where we'd only see the team for that. And it's, I suppose, a bit more segmentation on the staff user interface, because it can, I suppose, get a bit messy when you have a lot of forms going on. You can manage it with your categories and that kind of stuff. But I suppose if we could streamline our interface now, for the fact that we're, I suppose, growing with the application now, that's one thing that would be an immediate improvement for us.
Yeah, because I was just, before we got together, I was looking at some of the figures, and the logins and the users internally with yourself is just massive, the way it's grown in that short period of time. And without kind of asking you to say we're brilliant in Submit.com, if you were to say to any other council outside or anybody else that's looking or will look at this, to say any tip or any bit of advice that you'd give them to say that they should have a look at Submit.com?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll be perfectly honest. If I have problems, I'll let you know, Tomás. Don't worry about
it. I know that. Yeah.
We've had a very successful relationship with Submit since we started. It's only helped us really in digitizing our different processes, and the beauty of it is we've managed to move it into very, very varied departments where we deal with completely different team setups. And I'm sure any public body will appreciate that it's not like a regular company, and that like Cork City Council is, nearly 1,300 employees, and it's not like a business that sells something where you kind of a standard thing that you do. We've got so many different departments who do so many different things, and the staff setup is completely different, and they all have different needs and different wants, and they have different work processes. And for a public body, like, trying to move a standard application out among such a varied environment presents huge challenges. But with Submit, I think it's been very positive that we've managed to do that without too many problems. There's always been a little bit of toing and froing to pick something up. But the one thing I would say to anybody who works in the same business we do is that if you want to engage with Submit.com to improve your digital work processes, it would be good to kind of look at a section of where you work that you could see an immediate benefit, that you could see, okay, this is required. There's an ask for this from the public and from the staff, so you get good buy-in and good engagement from your team internally, and like, that's very important. And we had that with parking, because there was a drive for it. They wanted it, they were under pressure, and the public wanted it as well at this stage. So we saw somewhere that the work would pay off. And once you have a good pilot project like that, you will learn so much from it. From how to use the application, how to use the varied features, and also how to kind of I suppose sell it to your staff in a way, and how to get buy-in from your department, and how to roll it out across your organization afterwards. So I just think having a good pilot project and having it well thought out, and to map your process and not just your application, because a mistake you can make is look at a paper form and go, okay, I'll digitize that. That's not enough. You really need to look at the process from when that application comes in to when your staff member contacts that end user and gives them what they want. And you want to see how all that would fit into your digital communication flow, whereas application, second phase, third phase, how your email conversations are going to be managed on the platform, which is something we recommend. Do it all in the one place, and plan it out like that. So just to, use a bit of I suppose a bit of thought in your project management beforehand, and it'll really pay off. The strange thing is that I think people have that application mindset, But I mean, from our point of view here, like when we had the payment option, that just opened doors for us there, with the Stripe integration and being able to take in the online payments with the permits and stuff like that. I mean, it's a no-brainer to move it out to stuff like that, because we had staff there manually inputting stuff into the financial system in here over the phone, which they don't have to do anymore because of the fact that it's automatic through Stripe, and they just do the reconciliation then, with the Stripe account.
The Stripe account, yeah.
Kind of stuff. I mean, it's getting that across to people. I know it's very hard, and look, I know the way the councils can be like, and they can be slow enough to.
It's not just public bodies or anybody. Everybody has been slow for change and stuff, And I just think maybe this pandemic has opened our eyes to an awful lot where we need to be at or where we need to go. and the opportunities that are there in terms of efficiencies, cost savings, and it's nobody losing a job, but it's maybe just doing things easier for everybody.
I mean, from our point of view in here, like, it's not like we would need less staff. It's just that the staff are freed up to get the stuff done, which is sitting there for 6 months. You know, they're constantly on the go. Like, it's not easy to work in those customer-facing departments. You know.
Look, you're talking about a simple one in terms of parking, but if you looked at, let's say, housing, which is a national crisis,
it's a national emergency.
Like, a national emergency, and you're looking at that, and you're saying to themselves, surely inside in Cork City Council, like there have been. The demands are huge, the calls,
you wouldn't believe it, Tomás, I told you how massive they are. Like,
yeah.
And how hard it is for just to keep on top of what's coming in. I'm glad I don't work there. Like, honestly, it's a tough station. And you are dealing with just taking grief off people morning, noon and night, like, you know. You know, it's not easy. And I mean, from our point of view here, like, we're reducing backlog. You know, that's what we're looking at, the benefit of this and other similar things we use is we're trying to reduce those queues. You know, but we're not going to get rid of any staff. We're trying to get more. You know,
yeah.
If you get more people to be on this, for me, I'd be happier than reducing staff.
Yeah,
place,
and do you see a role in the housing side of things with Submit?
I do, and we have had conversations with them, and we've done a test form for them up there that we have for them to review, and we're going to engage with them now again. I think I have a meeting with them today.
Excellent.
So again, look at the stuff like the SSO and that kind of thing has been a big deal there, and we redid our DPIA on the basis of all that, and look for public bodies, Tomás, like, because of the constant threat of, you know, cybercrime and that kind of stuff. Anything to do with security, that's a huge plus, you know.
That's good. That's good. Yes, in the end, it's been a pleasure. Appreciate your time, and thanks for having
no problem. Look, thanks to yourselves as well, and the lads inside. Look, great relationship with them.
Yeah, look, I suppose, it's grand for me to be in the front face here and having the conversation with yourself, right? But it's the back office team and the support, right? I mean, your business is only good as those people behind the scenes and being available to
well, be honest, today I have a bit of a shopping list in there. No, you must get back to them and see if they'll speed up a bit after this for me.
I'll tell them to expect a call, so right, yeah.
Right. I think they'll get one anyway, Tomás, believe me.
Okay. Come on, Ian. We'll talk to you soon.
Tomás, take it easy.
Thank you. All right.